So what we're going to do now, if that's okay, I'd like to do what we call a 5-minute miracle, and that's a chance for you to see what an assessment looks like of a hip problem from somebody in the audience, and what the type of intervention might look like for that individual, and you can gain a little bit more understanding of what that looks like. Before I do that, any burning questions about any of the material we presented so far?
What is the name of the one that's often missed when they diagnose the hip problem?
It's called Maine syndrome, M-A-I-G-N-E syndrome.
Thank you.
Welcome. Who feels like they have stiffness in their hips like when they're tying their shoes?
Yeah.
Yeah. You, Judy, you do?
At times.
At times?
I can still do it.
Oh, I still do it too, yeah. I'm sometimes stiff all the time.
Got it. Okay. So, Judy, would you be willing to avail yourself to taking a look at this? You're a brave gal.
Okay.
The worst part is the stiffness when you get up you sit for a long time and then you have to get up and start moving.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you're moving, I do better.
All right, Joe, come on. So, all right. So, Judy, what's going on? Tell us about what you're experiencing.
Well, so my hip hurts here at times, and then through here. Like, if I'm vacuuming after a while, my hip will hurt. I'm walking a ways, my hip will hurt. Sometimes I get up and my hip hurts.
Got it. Also, when you first get up in the morning?
I'm really stiff in the morning.
Yeah.
All over I'm stiff. So I have this little routine of exercises that I do. I flex my knees, you know, those heel slides that you do.
Mm-hmm.
I do ABCs with my feet. I do finger things in order for me to get moving in the morning.
Got it. Okay.
So, am I stiff? Yes.
Got it. And the
How about when you sleep?
What?
Do you have pain when you sleep?
Sometimes, but I can almost sleep through anything, so I guess
And it's your right hip.
my right hip is the one, yeah, that seems to bother me the most.
Got it. Okay. Do you notice in your walking as well at times?
Yes.
Okay. So, great. So in an actual consultation, we might obviously we will go into a little more detail than this, but this gives me some really good information. I think the next thing, if you would please, I'm going to have you just walk back and forth in here. And we're just going to take a look at what walking looks like. So don't have to be a trained clinician, just you continue to walk to keep, to identify where there might be some limitations. So does it look like her right leg moves as much through the walking cycle as her left leg? Or is it a little bit shorter there? What do you think?
She's moving a little bit this way, a little bit. She's kind
Not quite as much follow through over that legs. Do people see that? It's a little different right to left. So just take notice of that. So
Okay, I never pay attention.
Right? Right. It's something that she's adapted to over a long period of time. It's not as if I would see her walking down the street and try to rush to her aid. Like, oh my goodness, ma'am, are you okay? Right? But it's easy to see that she doesn't put weight over that leg as well. So we'll see how that changes, you know, with this session if it changes. So the next thing I'd like you to do, if you don't mind, is do you know about squats?
Mm-hmm.
I'd like you to just kind of put your feet apart a little bit and go into slowly, comfortably, the squat to the depth that you can. So that's going to also assess some hip movement. So slow it down a little bit and think more about bringing your bum to the floor than your feet than your hands to the floor. Okay. Any bother with that?
No.
Okay.
That actually feels good.
Feels good. Okay. We're going to investigate this a little bit further. Would you stand on your left leg, please?
My balance is not very good.
Okay, thank you. And now stand on your right leg. Okay. So if we take a look at standing on your left leg once more, go ahead and stand on your left leg. Notice her hips stay fairly level. Leave that go. Stand on your right leg. And her hip tends to drop a little bit. Do you see that? Okay, so the muscle control around that, you may not see it, but your shoulders drop a little bit. So she's not accustomed to staying stable on that side. So
I have seen that.
every step that she takes is a little bit off. She's adapted to that. She's accustomed to that. I'm not picking on you.
I understand.
All
I
right.
guess that's why I'm here.
So if you would, I'm going to have you, I'm going to get the table out. If you wouldn't mind, have a seat on your chair there. And I'm going to move the table a little bit. So the first thing I'm going to do is assess movement here. So I want to see how much your hip moves up here. And so this is at about 90 degrees or a right angle. We want to see how much movement she has beyond that. So there could be a little bit more movement there, but that's not horrible. In movement, that's about what we'd expect. This out movement, not too bad either. I'm going to do a couple of other things. Going to apply a little pressure through here, now allowing me to move you. I'm just going to challenge that hip joint here. Is that bothersome at all?
No.
Ideally, that hip joint would be able to tolerate that movement, and that's a natural thing for it to be able to do. You're going to place your foot on your other thigh, let this knee come to the side. This knee should come down a fair degree towards the table and take end range pressure. So that's a pretty healthy mobile knee. Excuse me, hip.
It has been replaced, just a FYI.
Okay. This one. Is that as flexible as the other one? No. This movement, not too bad. Not a lot doing here. And just let your leg relax as best you can. Apply a little pressure here. What does that seem like?
It hurts.
She doesn't like that. Right? Big difference right to left. That joint is not happy. Place this here, and how about here?
It's okay. Now it does.
Yeah.
I can't do that.
So she's got, we call it capsular pattern of tightness in that hip joint. So your left hip is replaced?
No, neither hip is replaced.
Oh, neither hip is replaced.
Both knees are.
Oh, both knees are. Okay, got it. How long ago has this been replaced?
That was done in December of 2019.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is we're going to do a little bit of stretching out of that hip joint. There's a number of different ways to do that. We're going to choose a really simple way. I'm just going to do a little bit of traction to her hip here. I just use the belt to help make it easy for myself and comfortable for her. So what we're doing here is stretching that hip joint out a little bit in the hip joint capsule in order to get at some of those tissues that you can't get at after with self-stretching. And just doing a little bit of stretch here. How is that for you, Jenny?
Okay.
Comfortable? Now she's got a knee replacement, so I'm not going to be being overly aggressive with this. So this is going to be gentle. It doesn't have to be aggressive, but it has to be targeted and specific to that hip joint capsule. Do you feel like there's a little bit of stretch deep into that hip joint?
I can feel it, yes.
Yeah, good. So we have the internal sense of the hip joint and any joint in our body. And this is isolated mobilization there. And again, I'm not applying a lot of pressure. I'm just leaning back just a little bit of pressure. Comfortable for the ankle and foot as well?
Yes.
Comfortable for your knee?
Yes.
Great. This can also provide a little bit of traction through the lower back as well, which can relieve back-related hip pain as well. From a spectator's view, this can maybe look a little bit like watching grass grow, paint dry. Not a lot of action there, but you can feel movement in that joint.
Yes.
Okay, great. So now we're going to reassess this. Bend this knee up, please. And then we're going to reassess movement here. What do you see? What do you feel about the movement? What do you see about the movement now?
Good.
What do you notice?
It doesn't hurt as much.
And apply pressure in there. That's still a little saucy.
Yeah, but it's not bad. It's
Not as
not like
much.
before.
And let this come out to the side. A little bit more movement there. Terrific.
Good.
5-minute miracle. So I'm doing the happy dance. Why am I doing the happy dance? Because we can get a change with one simple procedure that's targeted, which means that if we do that in combination with some other things enough, that hip will regain likely all of its mobility, and then we can train the muscle function to get stronger in that and work to improve her walking.
I like that.
Very simply, right? Have a seat, please. Sit for a moment.
So do you ever feel that like the same motion should be done on the other hip too, or not necessarily? It doesn't have to be equal. We just work on the hip that's causing the problem at the time. I don't know.
So we're going to start with the area that is most restricted and
Okay.
most going to impact her change.
Okay, that's what I thought.
There are times when people have significant tightness in both hips,
Mm-hmm.
and both need to be addressed, even though one is barking a little bit louder.
Okay.
At the end of the day, and that's a great question, right? At the end of the day, we need to move in the world.
Mm-hmm.
I want ability for individuals to be able to easily not only get up and down from a chair or a low toilet or a low car, but also easily up and down from the floor if they choose. To be able to have the strength to go down into a deep squat to pick something up off the floor. To be able to go into a lunge to pick something up like a pot or something off the floor, some groceries. And in order to do that, all those parts have to move well, right?
Right.
So, great question.
Okay.
Come on up, and what we'd like to do now is just kind of take a walk and just notice for yourself the feeling state of that. We'll just watch and move. And sometimes it becomes pretty apparent that it's changed. Other times, maybe not so much.
I don't know.
I don't know what anybody recognizes. She still has some issues with the walk. I don't know if it's substantially changed, but I think it's a little bit, right? I don't have as many objective measures for that right now, but that might be a little bit changed. One thing that'll be interesting, go ahead and stand on your right leg once more. So she's still got a balance issue, but that's stacking a lot better. Did you notice that? Her shoulder and other hip doesn't drop as much, right? So even with that, the body loves this. The body wants to get to a state, like we're biological beings, right? And we provide some sort of change. Thank you so much. That's awesome. I appreciate that. The body wants to move better, and once we give it the opportunity, get a little bit more flexibility, and then we ask it to do things, it's going to take that information and use it. Now, she needs to do more stuff than that, right? Because there's still some stiffness in there. Early on the plan of care, we're doing a lot to relieve that stiffness and pain. As the plan of care continues, we're going to train the muscle strength so that you can balance better. Because that's not just all balance in the brain control centers, but some of that is the muscle control of the hips. We haven't looked at her back really. There might be some issues going on in her back, although I don't have anything that jumps out at me, but we're going to look at her back and how it functions.